burlesque?
What's the difference between burlesque and stripping?
What is your proudest burlesque moment?
Do you ever get nervous? What are you going to do when you're older?
How did you feel after your first show?
How long have you been a burlesque performer?
Why don't you always, how can you call yourself a feminist?
What's the difference between stripping
What are
and
you gonna
burlesque?
What's the difference between burlesque and
What do
stripping?
your parents
I'm a
think?
burlesque performer because.
How do you
One
actually
session.
make
How did
money
you feel
doing
after your
that?
first show?
What is your proudest
What is your
burlesque
proudest
moment?
Do you ever get nervous?
Why don't you always look
What are you going to do when you're
What are you
older?
gonna do when you're older? What are you gonna do?
What are your
How long have you
when
been
you're
a burlesque
Your
performer?
boyfriend or partner, why don't you
How do you
always?
actually make money doing
How
that?
can you call yourself a feminist?
Do you ever get
What's
nervous?
the difference between burlesque and stripping? How did you feel after your first
How long
show?
have you been a burlesque performer?
Why don't you always look like
How
that?
do you actually?
What's the
make
difference
money?
between stripping and burlesque?
Why don't you always look like that?
When are you gonna get a real job? Burlesque? Why?
I was rebellious since I was a child. From an early age, I was gregarious, outgoing, and perhaps a little bossy. I also come from 3 generations of eating disorders. I learned at an early age that your self-worth is directly related to what your body looks like and who or what you are wearing. I thought this would change for me when my grandfather married a big girl, a loud woman, a gregarious lady who was perhaps a little bossy. But he loved her curves, he loved her tenacity, and he loved her body, no matter what the size. But that did not change things for me. At the age of 14, I was still being sent to fat camp, not looking all that different than what I look like now. And I only lasted about 6 days at Camp Shane before my weed stash was found during a routine food raid. And when my mother came to pick me up, she said, "Doesn't that make you hungry? Isn't that the problem?" My 4 remaining high school years felt more like 14 sluggish decades. I would escape the khaki of my private school and the house with the alarm on the refrigerator. The alarm is still there, by the way. And I would take a bus, a train, and a subway ride to Coney Island, where I would experience things like hot dogs and cotton candy and soft serve ice cream. And I also saw sideshows by the seashore. And there I saw the tall, the small, the absurd, and the unusual. Later, I learned of their evening programming, Burlesque at the Beach. And at my first burlesque show, I saw a ballerina on pointe shoes with the biggest butt I had ever seen. And I wanted to wrap myself in the sequin blanket of burlesque love. I've been a producer of burlesque since day one, as well as a burlesque performer. Through producing shows, I get to share backstage space and learn the stories of and inspirations of all the people that share the stage. And that is what makes it easy for me to put up with the long days, sleepless nights, not turning a profit, or the laundry list of no's that are sent my way. And after about producing shows for 10 years, I realized that they're always in bars. I started as an artist, and somewhere along the line, I became a booze pusher. So sometime last year, it dawned on me that burlesque needs the scrutiny of the theater. We need the high-powered lights and the hush of your inquisitive eye to put some validity and some importance to what we do, but also to make it easier for you to hear without the bar banter and the distraction of intoxication. I want to stop all the time. And the thing that really propels me to go forward and reminds me that this is important are the classes that I teach. I get to shed some light, open up the possibility to people of all types, that hating your body is not a necessity. And for me, that's what it's all about. Getting to see a spark in someone that sparked me so many years ago. And right now, I'd like to share with you one of our proud graduates.
Now the nights of weather, as long as we're together, and I love to hear you say my name. I love good wine and fine whiskey.
What is burlesque?
Defiance.
Burlesque is an opportunity to celebrate my body, my journey, and the freedom I've declared for myself.
It's my playtime.
Burlesque. I believe burlesque is a modern art and it's the best musical comedy probably on the face of the earth.
One stop in a whole history of sex work.
As simply as I can put it, burlesque is relief through satire.
What is the difference between burlesque and stripping?
I can't pay the bills with burlesque.
I guess the difference is props and a plot. I also think burlesque has room for silliness that traditional stripping might lack.
Burlesque, I do on stage. My stripping, I save for home.
I imagine you'd have to be a really good actress to be a stripper. And I'm a really bad actress. Campy. Over the top. Like burlesque.
Well, anyway, I'm on my phone and you're asking me what the difference is between burlesque and stripping. I don't know, what the fuck do you think?
In burlesque, it's much longer hours because you start like 1 o'clock and it goes to 11:30 at night, and there's like 4 shows, and there's comedians and a chorus line and a talking woman and a straight man, and there's a lot of people involved.
I'm a burlesque performer because...
Well, I've been fired from every other job.
If you don't count glitter lung, it has less medical side effects than Prozac.
It's my calling, you know. Some people get a calling to be a nun, some to be a priest. I just got a calling to be a burlesque performer, and I followed my bliss, and that was where my bliss led me, to musical comedy.
I'm a burlesque performer because my body is a parody, and I'm ready to let you all in on the joke.
I'm a burlesque performer because the mask that I wear on stage allows me to be myself more effortlessly off of it.
The stories of women like me matter.
What would that even look like? Is it even possible? Breaking free? Working class women, always working for someone else. Our bodies are never our own. Bodies breaking free, bodies breaking out into a glamour of our own creation. Leaping out of assigned roles, the real class, jumpers, strippers. Who writes the stories of strippers? Who writes the stories of epic heroism in the face of late rent? It's never documented. A woman's work is never done. A woman's work is never done.
A woman's work is never done. It's never documented. Who writes the stories of epic heroism in the face of late rent? Who writes the stories of strippers, the real class, jumpers? Our bodies are never our own, always working for someone else, working class women. Breaking free. Is it even possible? What would it even look like?
How did you start?
At the first show I'd ever been to. Talk about being kicked out of the nest.
Well, I'd always promised myself an interesting life, so I picked up a flyer and got started.
In my lifetime, there's so many things I won't have time or financial means to do. This, I can. So why not?
Like all fierce things, I started with a bunch of lesbians in the woods.
I started burlesque as a fan, and then as an apprentice of writer and performance artist, Ducky Doolittle.
I was just walking around downtown in Newark, New Jersey, and I happened to pass by this burlesque theater, and I went to Minsky's, and I spoke to Chuck Gregory, and I was in his office, and he said, "Okay, let me see your legs," and I showed him my legs, and then I went into rehearsal that evening, and they, and that's where I believe it all started for me, was at Minsky's, and I said, and I knew when I walked on stage, I found a home.
How long have you been a burlesque performer?
For 4 fabulous years.
I've been performing burlesque since 2001 and a ham since birth. Ta-da!
I started really young, because when I was about 3-4 years old, I heard this song on the radio called the Strip Polka, and it said, take it off, cried the boys in the band. So, and I knew they were talking about clothes, so I just started taking it off, and my mother applauded, and she thought that was great, and my family loved it, and and I would just entertain the family, and went professional around 14, 15.
For 10 long goddamn years.
I've been performing burlesque since the end of that $1,000 higher education that I thought would include a life map, but instead included a lot of debt.
The stage has always called to me, but I never thought I had a talent worth doing on it.
What are you going to do when you're older?
Strip with the grace, elegance, and edge garnered from 30+ years experience on the job. And pool boys. Definitely pool boys.
Who says you have to stop when you're older? I'm doing this till I'm done.
The only thing I can guarantee is that I'll always keep changing.
I am an old woman. I shall wear purple and strip.
I hope to own a burlesque studio. This isn't going anywhere. Grand Madame.
Well, I'm not going to get older. And that's my advice to the very young ladies. Don't get older. I've been 22 since I was 14, and I have no intention of changing that. I will be 22.
He said he'd give me everything insane. Once had a day, said he'd give me everything insane. Yes, he did. So I said, honey, I want the sunshine. He'll take the stars out of the night. And come on, give it to me, baby. Right now. I ain't the kind of woman who'd make your life a better place. No, 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 no. Another kind of woman, no, to make your life a better place. Yeah, but if you just want to go out drinking, honey, won't you invite me along, please? I'll be so good to you, babe. Yeah. Wow, go.
Do you ever get nervous?
The stage never makes me nervous. It's people that do.
Yes! But then I remember how much I'm saving on Prozac, and I'm good to go.
I'm inherently a nervous person, but this kind of nervous means something awesome is about to happen.
Nervous? I prefer excited. I get excited every time I perform. Here goes.
I get nervous and excited before I do a performance. And it's a combination of such that the nervousness and the excitement together just, make me so energized that I go out there and burst with energy.
Nervous? I prefer excited. I get excited.
What do your parents think?
My mother is confused as to why people would pay money to look at my body.
My mom treats me like an errant cat. Ever been spritzed in the face with holy water?
Well, my mom couldn't be prouder. And my dad, well, let's just say he's there in spirit.
Seeing how I've been doing this since I was 3 and 4 years old, and I thought they were very supportive, and I just love them for that.
My mama thinks that burlesque shows are a good place to pick up hot chicks.
I've been fiercely independent from the time I was cut out of my mom's vagina. I'm pretty sure they don't think of me at all.
How can you call yourself a feminist?
Easily and without hesitation.
I create a forum for women and people of all genders to be celebrated and for them to share experience. I strip for me, and if others find it moving or relatable, that's a bonus.
I call myself a feminist with my mouth. I just say that.
¿Qué? Don't worry. ¿Tienes hambre?
I'm not sure what that means, but I've always enjoyed being a girl, a female, a woman. I never had penis envy. I've had vagina envy. I envied Anne Bancroft because she was married to Mel Brooks, and I love Mel Brooks, and I wanted to be married to him. But other than that, I enjoy being a woman.
Stripping is just another piece on my lipstick feminist agenda. It's my way of honoring a history of women who are bold enough to not let society tell them that their hotness and their self-worth are in the same piece.
My name is Boobs.
But you can call me Alexa. I love burlesque because it's a parody, which is appropriate seeing as how my earthly form appears to be based in parody. I have the shortest body in a family of short people, the worst eyes in a family of blind people, the palest skin in a family of pale people, and perhaps most profoundly, the biggest rack in a family of extremely breasted people. I was genetically predetermined to be the butt of the joke. In 7th grade, I noticed my body was changing. I was scared but excited. I adored the womanly figures of my mother and older sisters. I knew people thought they were beautiful, and I admired their curves and poise. I would look at my mother's high school graduation photo that she kept in the bathroom. Blonde hair swept up in some dramatic updo. White teeth smiling brilliantly, sensually nude shoulders peeking out from a black, bland gown. So demure, so classic. That was the kind of beauty I aspired to achieve after puberty was done wreaking havoc on my skin. I got my first bra for my boob buds. It was weird to wear, but it made me feel more womanly as my internal puberty transformation was becoming an external blossoming. My parents chuckled over how little I had to fill it with. My fervor for puberty was cute to them then, but stopped being cute in high school. My breasts went up a full cup size each year. At first I thought it was normal until I realized nobody else was having the same kind of growth spurt. My boobs were unrelenting. I was still wearing an A cup as a freshman, but that didn't last long. Suddenly, I was cramming my boobs into B cups. Oh, so lovely. Next year, they overflowed into C cups. Get over here. Oh, they're wet. By my senior year, they started wandering into D cup territory.
Yeah,
Tell me about it. Ooh, there they are. Lovely. Well, thank you. Oh, nice and awkward. Love them. Thank you. Oh, cool. Ooh, this one's got something else. Time to go. People started asking me if my boobs were real. Well, of course they're real. I wasn't even 18 yet, but high school students clearly lack that kind of cognitive reasoning. So all I was left with were these attention-commanding, totally embarrassing flesh lumps attached to my chest. I didn't know how to dress them. I was deep into my punk rock phase, but t-shirts made it look like I had flattened boob lobes under my shirt. And yeah, then anything cut lower than a crew neck looked suggestive with my cleavage cavern poking out. People would stare without shame, excluding my own, of course. I did not feel elegant like my mother's photo. I felt like a big-breasted freak. I hated changing after PE. Even other girls would glance over in fear, disgust, or maybe even envy. But worse yet was a required mile run at the end of each school year. At the end of each year, you would have to run exactly 1 mile, as some jerk-off in Sacramento decided that was the only way to prevent obesity and to pass PE. Each year I ran. Huge knockers bouncing in my face, I shamefully hustled in front of all of my peers. The boys snickered. I was humiliated. Then high school ended. Yes! My body rewarded me for pursuing a higher education with double D's my freshman year of college. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, beep, beep, beep. Oh, beep. You were on your own. I did not know what I was going to do. This is it. I am destined to morph into 2 giant tits with legs. I had this horrendous bra shopping experience in the sexy teen section over Mervyn's. When I couldn't find anything larger than a C cup, I asked a sales associate. She suggested I check out the full-figured section. Full-figured? I didn't even weigh 100 pounds yet. I didn't buy anything that day. I went home and cried instead, looking at my body in the mirror, wondering what the hell I was going to do with these 2 giant punchlines attached to my 5-foot frame. So, let's fast forward to the end of my college career. I graduated at the end of the fall semester. I didn't walk because I was tired of giving SF state money they were clearly not spending wisely. I was over it, ready for another adventure. And then, I picked up a flyer for something called the School of Shimmy, a series of burlesque classes. Burlesque sounded like a dream. I was always a performer, school plays, other people's film projects, but this, burlesque, burlesque captivated my imagination. Was I skinny enough? Sexy enough? Would people laugh at me? I have 2 left feet that always put me in the back of a chorus line. Dare I be so bold? I had nightmares about being naked in front of strangers. I had those leaving the house without clothes on dreams all the time. Would this help? Or be the first case of death by embarrassment in history? There was only one way to find out. I was super scared and nervous at our first class, but I started to feel more relaxed as we covered the history of burlesque and, most poignantly, its relationship to parody and humor. It wasn't all about being hot or even a good dancer. Burlesque was intended to be funny and satirical. Plus, the human body got to be the punchline, which is outstanding because my body has been a punchline this entire time. When the instructor has performed for a few seconds in front of other participants, I was shaking. But I did it, ignoring my fear of what other people thought of me, probably for the first time since my punchlines had sprouted. I was addicted. I needed burlesque in my life. This was what I was missing. Now, 2 years later, and I finally love my body. Other people don't seem to mind it either. I don't care anymore that I'm not stick thin with Britney Spears abs, and I don't hate my boobs anymore. I won't tolerate disparaging words uttered against them, and I defend them vehemently when people think that just because they can see them, it means that they can touch, comment, or give themselves permissions that only I can give. They still attract attention. That it makes me afraid, that accelerates my heartbeat, leaving me disgusted with the world and myself. And I wish that there was a way that I could reconcile my on-stage breast love with my off-stage life, but sometimes all I can do is zip up my jacket and silently pray that the man walking too close behind me is not going to follow me home. My boobs are a constant reminder of my powerful womanly form, my hilarious existence in a serious and violent world. I've also learned to appreciate other women's bodies, all different from mine, different ages, shapes, colors, proportions. You know, I'm not just boobs anymore. I'm Alexa, too. And to celebrate this revelation, I burlesque.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling stars are fine. You know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine. And I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. New life for me. And I'm feeling
How do you actually make money doing that?
I have a day job for that. The money I make doing burlesque, I ensure that I spend as frivolously as possible.
Money? I don't make money. I make my bar tab.
Burlesque alone will not cut the mustard. That's why I'm a host and a producer also.
By hook or by crook.
When I went out on the road, I was an independent contractor. I always had a contract when I went to a nightclub or theaters, and we're also in the American Guild of Variety Artists union called AGVA, and if we got the contract, we worked our shows and got paid. And I know I've heard many ladies say they've had problems getting paid in different places. However, I never had that problem.
What is your proudest burlesque moment?
Every time I get to take my wig off on stage.
The first time Rubenesque Burlesque did our fat camp number.
My proudest moment was the first time someone told me my number was their very favorite number in the show.
Too many to name. I guess I got a lot of burlesque pride.
Realizing that just the other day, if I'm not mistaken, Red Hot's Burlesque, the show that I produce, is the longest running queer burlesque show in the United States.
I think one of my proudest moments was when Lily St. Cyr was being a mentor to me and giving me advice and hints and my whole body of work that I've done. I'm really proud of everything.
Why don't you always look like that?
Because getting glitter caught in your contacts really hurts.
Because good drag is hard work, and I expect to be compensated accordingly, okay?
Because you're not paying me to. Duh.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and it costs a lot of money to look this cheap.
I always look fabulous, but I'm not always at work.
Lacey Luna, like all other characters, exists only on stage and in front of the lens. She isn't at all what I aspire to be like in my real life. Shortly after birth, I was penetrated by force. Born in Zacatecas, Mexico, no one flinched at the following of our custom of piercing the ears of our daughters as soon as possible. Before a time I had the ability to remember, femininity glinted diamond and ruby sparkles from my earlobes. I was a portrait of a perfect Latina lady, even then. Ruffled dresses and braids as soon as I had 3 hairs to knock together. But I had no say in this matter. baptized Maria Guadalupe, I was meant to be a living replica of our virginal female savior. Now, I can tell you, I am not that woman. I never wanted to be that woman. To be honest, I'm not fully woman at all. I may have tits, ass, and a pussy I wouldn't trade anything for. Promise you. But I feel detached from this body and the femininity that it carries. Estrogen feels like a poison flowing through me at times. I'm not a man, but I'm definitely way further along that side of the spectrum. I always felt resentment that people couldn't see me for as masculine as I am. I want to take my top off and know what it feels like not to know that people are just staring at my female body. 'Cause honestly, if fag was a gender, that's what would describe me perfectly. Female is one of the many costumes that I love to wear, never the person that I am. Growing up, my questionable gender identity wasn't the only box I didn't comfortably fit in. If you got to know me, you'd realize really quick, in many aspects, I'm not at all typical. But I never used to feel bad about how I am. It was always so natural to be and feel so different from everyone around me. It wasn't until I got older that my insecurities about my place began to affect me. I encountered individuals, and lovers mostly, that taught me that I should feel bad for being so uncommon. I used to listen to them all. Those that would pick and prod and lay out how different I was from them, as some sort of indisputable evidence that I was therefore unlovable. Unlovable. You see, I used to fear that. Because if they were right, and for fuck's sakes, they have to be right, because they have everything that I want. But if I'm supposed to be just like someone, if that's the character I'm supposed to be loved by someone, that's never going to happen at all. There is no one like me. But that used to be pointed out to me like some sort of curse that I'm meant to bear, I still, to this day, find magical. I got tired of this misled self-hatred. Because if individuality is not a thing to be shameful about, the way I saw it, I had the choice. Hate and hide this person that I am, or accept it. And access the power in that. I began with my body. You see, at times, I reject these Latina hips of mine. The way they tell a story a mile long. Their natural sway, a marker of my femininity. The way they attract stares, are all things that make me uncomfortable. But I can't deny them. These female appendages to my body have so much power in them. They're admirable things. Burlesque is how I tap into the power this body possesses. This stage gives me power. This burlesque stage where I reveal my female body, or don't. A stage where I'm aware I'm being viewed as a sexual woman. But
mostly naked. This stage provides me safety. On stage, I feel free to show the body that I've been given, free to flaunt it even, to the eyes that watch, and it all be done to applause.
So, when are you going to get a real job?
Oh, white Jesus, hopefully never.
I'm an advocate for all the coolest kids in school. I'm a special needs teacher.
This is it. I manage a dildo store for a living. I told you I crave an interesting life.
I have 3. I'm an admin assistant, a certified massage therapist, and a burlesque performer. Thinking of picking up a 4th. Do you need a spanking?
Well, I was working the Chez Paris with Baby Doll, and she had said, and we were talking about things, and she got a lot of kind of ticked off at me at something. She said, "You never worked a day in your whole life." And, you know, I took me back. You know, I said, oh my goodness, you know, how could you say that? And then I thought about it and I said, you know, she was right. Because I never worked at anything that I didn't absolutely love like what I was doing. I loved being in burlesque. I loved working with the comics. I loved being in the chorus line. I loved the musicians and everything about it. So, you know, when you get up and you go to work and you love what you do, you know, I kind of sit back and wonder, wow, I'm actually getting paid for this. So, you know, it's not really work to me if I'm having a good time.
How did your boyfriend or partner feel about you doing burlesque?
She loves that I run my own business and that I'm self-motivated. However, she's more fan dance and I'm more bloodbath.
Like a really great 18-hour bra, he supports me in every single way.
It was probably pretty weird for him at first, but now he's full of wonderful ideas and suggestions that I never take.
Girl, I'm single as fuck. Unless you want to buy me a drink and change all that.
My first boyfriend, we met while I was at Minsky's in the chorus, and so we had a really good relationship and gone together for about a year. And so I had an offer to go on the Bryant and Ingalls circuit and perform on the burlesque stages in different cities, and a week here and a week there, and he wanted me to stop and not do that. And I said, no, just let me do it one time around. That's all I want, you know, just. And so he, you know, I went, and then when I got back after the 12 weeks, he said, we got together and I said, you know, I really don't want to stop what I'm doing. And, you know, and he says, I want to marry you. I want us to settle down and stay in one place. And I really loved him, but I'm, you know, I also love what I did too. And, you know, Lily St. Cyr said to me, there's only two things in life that's important: sex and work. So anyway, I decided to go back and just stay in the burlesque field, and sadly I never saw him again. Larry, the baker. We used to joke about his rolling in dough all the time. So, and the partners I had since then, I was in it when I met them, so there was never any objection to what I did.
How did you feel after your first show?
About $200 in ones and fives richer.
Honestly, delighted and amazed that I didn't vomit.
Well, I was excited during my first striptease dance, and excited afterwards. I felt very tickled that, you know, I had no problem having a big smile on my face, because I went all through Catholic school, and I thought, you know, if they could see me now, you know, what would they think?
I was so excited, but really insecure about the amount of support I was given.
After performing in my first burlesque show, felt like I had been bit by the glittery bug. I wanted to do it again and again, and to be at the helm.
Like that awful tape running in my head had finally been silenced.
I think I was 9. We were parked out front of an old brick building, and I was dressed in black leotards with pink opaque stockings underneath, crushing cotton candy ballet slippers in my hands, ready to run in. My mother looks anxious, and she puts a calming hand on my arm, and she says, "You don't have to do this."
But I want to.
"You don't have to do this, sweetie. There's other girls in there with your... You don't have to do this." I insisted. with floors with perfect form and flow. They were my dream. Delicate taffeta clouds, plucked from the sky and caught in the arms of their partners. Held close, precious, and I wanted to be that, precious. When I walked out of that building, much to my mother's surprise, congratulations were indeed in order. I had been cast in Ballet High Cell's annual production of The Nutcracker. This was no after-school special either. This was the real deal. There was going to be a gallery opening at the museum, and people were going to come in their Sunday dress with those gloves on and those fancy little glasses that you could see from the balcony. And I was going to be there on that stage in downtown New Orleans in Singer Theater, one night a week, twice on weekends, for a full holiday season's run, in the prestigious position of the Rat King's lackey. I was thrilled to be a part of it. And the costumers were pretty pleased because they didn't have to sew a belly into my costume on account that I already had one. And my mom was so relieved that she didn't have to have that "you're just as good as everyone else" conversation. I didn't understand it. It was before I had been told that I was too fat to dance. It was before my body had become a cage, founded in fear and sealed in shame. It was my mother's fear that prompted her to tell me that I was fat when I wasn't. She was so afraid that I would become irrelevant, invisible, tormented, and tortured that she launched this preemptive strike against me. Her angst surrounding her own fat body image flowed into my veins like some dominant hereditary gene. She did it with the best of intentions. She said it because she loved me and was trying to protect me. But I'd rather have her perfect teeth than this disease. I was 11 and indoctrinated along with every other elementary school girl. We would raise shirts and skirts to compare bellies and thighs to the airbrush models in 17 magazine. It was a test none of us could pass, teaching us only to stick fingers down our throat in order to achieve a mass media regurgitation of what was supposed to be pretty. And we wanted desperately to be, oh, so pretty. I was 14 and confused, because while anorexia and bulimia were considered vicious maladies and as bearers victims to be loved and liberated at all costs, my obsessive-compulsive eating disorder was supposed to be my choice, and somehow some indication that I was lacking as a human being. Besides, if I really wanted to lose the extra 10 pounds, all I had to do was exercise a little willpower. I was 17 and frustrated with every single medical professional that said, "Your period went away because you're fat." It didn't matter that I was growing a full beard or that my testosterone levels had spiked or that I had this dude-like bald spot in the middle of my head. It was all about my fat. My fat was the reason everything had gone wrong in my life. It would be 6 years before they found the cyst lining my ovaries, and another 4 before they would find the tumor in my brain. I was 19, and so utterly afraid of rejection that I would not let her make love to me. I would not let him see me with the lights on. I was so afraid of myself that I wouldn't even take pictures. Years went by without photographic evidence that I indeed existed. Pictures or it didn't happen, and I wanted to pretend that I had never happened. I was 22, and embarrassed and shamed by every single fucking coworker that would bump into me at the gym and finally congratulate me on doing something good for myself for a change. Go, fatty, go. It wasn't about me. The audacity of complete strangers spewing their condescending concern for my health and well-being. They didn't even know me. To tell you the truth, they were afraid of me. They were afraid of this body, of being trapped in it. It was as if my fat were some kind of contagious thing, and if they brushed up against it, it would jump off of me and land on them and suffocate them in the middle of the night. like a cat. The worst thing, sorry for the people who didn't want to touch me, were the ones that did want to touch me. Fuck me all night long, but wouldn't hold my hand during the day. I was 26, and I stayed in that relationship for 9 years. It didn't matter what he did to me. It didn't matter what he said to me. It was because I believed society when they said that because I was fat and black and nappy-headed with dark skin, I didn't deserve the simplicity of kindness. I believed them when they said no one was going to touch me and no one was going to love me, so I might as well not be alone. Still burlesque.
Why? Because they were wrong.
Because I was wrong.
This body is made to dance.
To be seen.
To be beautiful.
To be feminine. This body is made to be feminine and to be loved. I'm 31, and every time I take the stage, it is a free fall comprised of blind trust, and every single time 100 hands, and let's be real, some nights on some venues only 10, reach out and catch me. My feet have yet to touch the ground. I burlesque to exist, to shatter glass ceilings, to break through concrete beliefs. I burlesque to reshape worlds, to reclaim space. I burlesque because a part of me hated me, and even to this day still believes that I can never be what I am now. And every time I shimmy, I shake this loose from me. From head to toe, this is my body, mine. And I will never let anyone shame me away from it again. This is my body. It's not a cage. And I am worthy, and I am precious, and I am beautiful, and I am free.
My body is a cage that keeps me from dancing with the one I love.
When I was in college, a professor said to me, just because it happened to you doesn't mean it's interesting. I hope that we created some sort of interesting dialogue for you here this afternoon. And I wanted to let you all know that I refer to burlesque as an opera in the form of a haiku. We take our entire lineages, our histories, our entire artistic souls and bear them for you for about 3 minutes while distracting you with boobs and booze. And for me, that's the hardest part. Can you hear me with my top off? Me speaking the same language as if you can see my body with all of its bulges and bumps. Burlesque is my way of saying yes. And that's what life is like in our little pink bubble. But I get tired of turning the magazines around, and I get tired of fighting against the archetypes and the hierarchies, and I certainly get tired of hearing friends call each other fat. I'm one person. I can't change the world. What I can do is be here with you. I know that you all had a choice here tonight. You could have watched television or sweat it out on a dance floor or live your reality through the filter of social media, but you chose to be here, experiencing live entertainment and asking the questions of why. These important questions that I hope we answered for you. And please keep asking them. Thank you. Woo!